I think when you look at the U.S. market, obviously issues related to COVID have certainly been a challenge for all carriers, with changes related to our workforce and keeping our workplaces safe. I think that the overall state of the economy is having a significant impact on not only insurance companies, but the market in general. I know that some public policymakers sometimes forget that insurance is a business, and like other businesses, we too have had to face the increase in the cost of goods and services. So also for the US, I think the fluctuations in the investment market, which impact our industry as companies typically rely on this investment income as we're trying to offset the loss costs. So those are a few of the factors. I also think maybe the breadth and the depth of the skills needed to work in this industry are greater than ever. The insurance industry and insurance consumers have grown more complex, making it crucial that we have a deep and a really talented pool of potential employees to fill those needs of our companies and those individuals we serve. Well, the New York market is different, I think, from all the other markets. We have customarily been accused of being the 1 in 49. So in other words, when the NEIC or NCOIL adopts a model rule or a model law, New York has really not always followed suit. So they've often tweaked the rule or added specific mandates that are unique to the state. So companies writing nationally or even in multiple states, this creates a big challenge in having to deviate from national protocols or accepted guidelines that they're accustomed to. So these companies are forced to adopt a different method or practice just to be in compliance in New York. For other differentiations for New York, I think the biggest challenges are in complying with our ever-increasing regulatory mandates that we have, the frequency and sometimes extremely lengthy data calls that are putting a strain on company resources. I know they just issued a large data call on the use of credit here in New York, and that's challenging for companies to complete. Regulatory expansion into other areas without really any corresponding modernization or regulatory relief from some of the antiquated requirements that we have here in New York. There have been continued efforts in New York to limit underrated factors, which have an actuarially proven correlation with loss. We have experienced artificial rate suppression recently, especially in the auto market here in New York. I would sum up and say that New York has one of the toughest regulatory climates in the country, and unfortunately, our current legislative environment is not particularly business friendly right now either. So it's a challenge here in New York. We're watching on the regulatory side, we're closely watching how they proceed with the carrier's ability to have options on use of credit as a rating factor. We have been actively involved in helping to shape how regulators engage with companies on cybersecurity. So making sure that it is understood that the one-size-fits-all approach really doesn't work, nor does it make sense. The legislature here in New York is scheduled to adjourn on June 2nd, and anything can happen between now and then, but we are closely watching legislation which limit an insurance company's ability to differentiate risks. So one hot issue this year is the increased efforts that have been made and publicity to eliminate an insurer's ability to utilize the lead paint exclusions that we have had for many years. We're also fighting with the trial lawyers on a number of issues, including lawsuit lending, interest on judgments, reforms to New York's antiquated scaffold law, expansion of non-economic damages. Those are just to name a few. So it's going to be a hot next couple of weeks for us here in Albany. Well, NYIA likes to help our members navigate every day. They like to say that NYIA is the resource of choice for New York writers. And we think our role as the state trade is to help bring the entire industry together and ensure that the P&C insurance market is robust and that companies are able to meet the needs of their policyholders. I think the diversity of our membership, the association's membership, is one of the greatest attributes that we have. And as a result, we can provide a broader and a deeper perspective on some of these issues. Every day, I think the NYIA team receives individual member inquiries, and we help to provide answers or guidance to those inquiries. And one of the additional benefits, I think, of our trade association is that we can submit anonymous inquiries to the department on behalf of members. So perhaps a company is interested in making a change in a product or a practice, we can provide them with the DFS perspective or a recommendation before they make any big decisions. And also, the association can be out front on media inquiries. So companies don't have to be out front on those issues. And it's often said that NYIA can be the shield and we take the arrows for the industry. We are celebrating our 140th year, and NYIA is the oldest insurance trade association in the country. And we take great pride in that. And we are excited to celebrate our incredible milestone with the members and the attendees at this year's annual conference. We have proven to have a really strong membership-driven organization where each and every company, regardless of your size or your line of business, have an equal voice. We've also proven to be extremely nimble and been able to find ways to keep dues affordable and at the same time also add value and services. And the NYIA of today, I would say, is still initiating and framing the discussion on property casualty issues in New York, just like we did when we were first organized back in 1882. I think the NYIA team and the members are especially excited about this year's annual conference. We have a terrific lineup of outstanding speakers. We've got plenty of time for networking with colleagues, exhibitors, and friends. We have New York Superintendent Adrian Harris providing an address and welcoming our members. We have the Pennsylvania Acting Commissioner, Michael Humphreys, providing perspective from a neighboring state. We have Dr. Robert Hartwig, who's going to kick off the conference and talk about the economy and insurance trends. We also have sessions on social inflation, data, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we will end the conference with our ever popular regional roundtable where company executives get to gather and share challenges and solutions. So the Turning Stone, the location is in the heart of the state. It really has it all, which is why it continues to be one of the most favored venues for the New York P&C industry's premier event. We're so glad that everyone's coming to the conference, and if you didn't make it this year, you can join us next year. It's a great event. Like I said, it's got lots of great education programs and speakers and opportunities for networking and time to see a lot of your old friends.